You are not in your own room tonight, not entirely. The walls that usually surround you feel softer, less real, as if they have dissolved into painted silk. There is the faint sound of feathers, a wing brushing the edge of silence, and somewhere far off, a whisper of voices, not hurried, not sharp, but gentle, like verses carried by the wind. When you breathe, you notice the air is different. It is warmer, scented with earth still cooling from the day's heat. It is touched by jasmine, by the hush of sandalwood smoke rising from a bronze lamp. You are not sure how you arrived here, but you are certain you are no longer in your own century. The stars above you do not blink or in the way you are used to. They seem closer, more carefully placed, like an artist's patient hand had pressed each one onto the dark velvet of night. This is the Mughal Empire. The century is distant. The night is eternal. And here, in this world, a story waits for you. It begins not in the marble courts of emperors, not in the jeweled chambers of queens, but in something smaller, lighter, more fleeting. It begins with birds. They move above you, their wings catching the last silver of moonlight. You see them gather on carved arches, on the lattice of a jaroka, on the bare branches of a tamarind tree. Their presence feels deliberate, as if they are not simply resting, but waiting. A courtier passes below them, his robes a pool of indigo stitched with tiny mirrors that catch stray light. In his hand, he carries a small basket of rice, not for himself, not for the kitchens, but for these birds. He scatters the grains on the stone floor, and the birds flutter down. They peck not greedily, but with the composure of honored guests. You realize this is not charity. This is payment. These birds are not beggars of crumbs. They are workers of words. They are couriers of poetry. The empire you are in does not believe that poetry belongs only to books. No, here it travels with wings. The qasidas and ghazals are not locked in scrolls. They are carried from courtyard to courtyard, from poet to patron, from lover to beloved, by birds trained to deliver the softest cargo, verses. And so they are paid, not in coin, but in rice, because even a bird, even a fragile carrier of syllables, deserves its due. You close your eyes for a moment, and you can almost feel it. A slip of thin paper tied with silk to a pigeon's leg, the paper warm with the heat of the bird's body, inked with longing, inked with devotion. Somewhere, a woman waits by her window, listening for the flutter that tells her she has been remembered. Somewhere else, a poet waits in the garden, hoping his lines will not vanish but arrive, carried faithfully by feather and flight. The empire trusts these birds more than it trusts messengers, more than it trusts guards, because a soldier may betray, a scribe may falter, but a bird only knows the sky, and the sky does not conspire. The thought makes you still. You watch the pigeons peck at rice as though they are scribes themselves, copying meaning with each tilt of the beak. And in the hush of night, you begin to wonder what poem they might carry for you. A soft breeze rises. The lamps along the courtyard flicker. The leaves shift, their shadows stretching long across the white marble floor. It feels as though the entire empire is exhaling. The birds lift suddenly, their wings fanning air across your skin. One circles lower, as if studying you, as if considering whether your palm might be the right place to leave a message. And then you see it, a ribbon tied to its leg. The faintest glimmer of folded paper. It lands on the low wall before you, its eyes bright, unafraid. You reach out slowly, not to startle it, and untie the ribbon. The bird waits, patient, professional. Only when you have taken the slip does it hop back, peck once at the remaining rice, and lift again into the moonlight. The paper in your hand is thin, fragile as onion skin. It carries words in Persian, ink dark but precise. You cannot read it, not yet, but you do not need to. The weight of it is enough. You are holding the empire's heart, its pulse written down, its breath made visible. And you understand why birds are paid in rice. Because without them, love might wither before it reached its destination. A poem might die unheard. And what is an empire without its poetry? You lean back against the carved wall, paper trembling in your fingers. The fountain in the courtyard keeps whispering, its water scattering silver across the surface. The air is thick with the fragrance of night blooming flowers. Somewhere a poet still scratches his reed pen against paper. Somewhere a woman whispers a couplet to herself before sleep. And here you sit at the start of a journey where words have wings, where silence is never empty, where even the smallest grain of rice is part of a greater poem. The night deepens. Your breath slows. The paper slips from your fingers, resting gently against your chest. You do not need to open it. You already feel the meaning like a lullaby pressed against your skin. And with that comfort, you let your eyes close. The birds continue their flight. The empire continues its dream. And you are now part of it. The night has not ended. It stretches like a silk tapestry, woven without hurry. Each thread dyed in shades of moonlight and breath. When you open your eyes again, you are still in the courtyard. But something has shifted. The birds are gone, their payment of rice reduced to pale husks scattered across marble. The fountain continues to murmur, but the air holds a new weight. Not silence, but expectation. It is then you notice a figure walking slowly through the arches. A man, older, his beard silvered, his robe loose and faded not from neglect, but from long nights of use. In his hand he carries not a sword, not an account book, but a reed pen. He walks as if he belongs to the night itself. And when he sits, cross-legged beneath the tamarind tree, you realize what he is, a court poet. He does not look at you. Instead, he unfolds a page before him, presses it flat with careful fingers, and begins to write. You hear the faint scratch of the pen, the rhythm steady like a heart-carving sound into silence. The ink glistens dark, then fades into the page. Every line he writes is a lantern. Every pause, a breath. You are not close enough to see the words, but you do not need to. The sound of writing is its own language. It speaks of longing, of memory, of the empire's fragile attempts to hold eternity in syllables. A small lantern flickers beside him, its light trembling against the carved wall. The flame bends whenever a night breeze sighs through, yet it does not go out. Perhaps it too listens. The poet pauses. He dips the reed pen into ink, then lifts his gaze, not toward the palace, not toward the stars, but toward the bird's perch, now empty. And he whispers. A single line, half to himself, half to the sky. The words are in Persian, yet you feel them land within you, as if they were written in your own veins. The poet speaks them aloud to test how they fly, before entrusting them to wings, because here poems are not complete until they travel. They are born in silence, breathed into ink, then released like birds themselves. You begin to notice how carefully everything is arranged in this courtyard. The water basin is not just decoration, it holds the moon in its surface. So poets may write as if the sky itself leaned over their shoulder. The stone benches are not merely for rest, they are placed where the wind moves most gently, so no page is torn by sudden gust. Even the trees are chosen for their whispers. The tamarind sighs low, the neem hums softly, as if all creation has agreed to aid the making of verse. The empire treats poetry not as luxury, but as necessity. Rice is measured, ink is ground, reed pens are cut and sharpened, all with as much seriousness as the minting of coin. And the birds, they are the empire's couriers of breath. The poet stops again. This time he does look toward you, though his gaze does not hold surprise. It is as if he knew you would be here, as if the story has always waited for you to sit in its shadow. He speaks softly. His voice is not a performance, but a confession. These birds, he says, do not carry messages for us. They carry us. Without them, we remain trapped inside ourselves. With them, we arrive where we are meant to be heard. Then he returns to writing, and you feel the truth of his words settle over you like a shawl. The hours pass without you counting them. The ink bottle empties a little more. The poet's wrist grows heavier, but his eyes glow brighter. He writes as if the act itself is prayer, and perhaps it is. At last he finishes. He blows gently across the page, drying the final line. Then, with care, he folds the sheet, ties it with silk, and sets it aside. He whistles low, not to you, not to the night, but to the air itself, and from the shadows, a bird returns. Its wings flash silver, its body settling lightly before him. The poet ties the folded verse to its leg, touches its head with a fingertip, and releases it. The bird rises, a dark flame against the moon. It does not hesitate, it does not circle, it knows exactly where to go. And so the poem leaves, becoming part of the night's flight. You watch until the bird is gone. Only then do you notice the poet's shoulders sag. He leans back against the tree trunk, his eyes closing, his lips moving in silent prayer. Not a prayer for himself, but for the safe delivery of his words. Because here words are alive, and alive things must be protected. The silence grows thicker. The fountain continues, the lantern continues, but the poet drifts into sleep. You remain awake, caught between centuries, holding onto the sound of wings. And it feels, for the first time in a long time, that the night has given you something, a gift you cannot name, a weight you do not wish to set down. You close your eyes again. The cool marble supports you. The fragrance of ink and jasmine clings to you. Somewhere another bird is being paid in rice. Somewhere another poem begins its journey. And you are still here within it all. The night does not end abruptly here. It loosens itself slowly, like silk uncoiling, like breath held and then surrendered. You awaken again to the sound of movement, not footsteps, not fountains, but the shuffle of grains. When your eyes adjust, you see them, palace servants carrying baskets of rice. They walk barefoot, so as not to disturb the air with noise, and their baskets spill fragrance, the warm, husked scent of harvest. They move to the marble ledges, to the carved bowls waiting under the arches, and they pour. A soft rain of rice scatters across stone, filling each vessel like water would fill a cup. This, you realize, is the payment. This is how the birds are kept loyal. The servants do not speak. They work with a reverence as if each grain mattered more than coin. And perhaps it does. For here, in the empire's quietest hours, words are not purchased with gold. They are purchased with nourishment, with patience, with care. You lean closer, watching how the rice falls. Some grains leap, some slide, but together they form a little ocean of pale moons. The bowls gleam, ready for the morning chorus of wings. From the shadows, you hear the first bird return. Not the one that left with the poet's verse. No, this one carries no silk thread, no folded poem. It lands straight at the edge of a bowl, pecking gently, grains scattering like pearls. Soon another joins, then another. The marble is alive again with rustle, flutter, the delicate percussion of beaks on stone. It is not chaotic. It is measured, like music following a hidden rhythm. You begin to sense why the empire chose birds, and not men for this labor of carrying poems. Men could be bribed, could be silenced, could be broken. But birds, their loyalty is only to the sky. Feed them, and they will fly. You glance back at the poet beneath the tree. He sleeps still, his reed pen lying across his lap, his lips parted with the gentlest of breaths. The lantern beside him burns lower now, but it does not die. The servants step around him carefully, as though he were a shrine and not a man. They do not wake him. They know his work is heavier than theirs. For though they carry rice, he carries silence into speech. You find yourself thinking of the bird that left earlier. Where does it go? Whose hands untie the silken knot? What face bends over the words written in midnight ink? Perhaps a courtier in Agra, waiting sleepless. Perhaps a princess in the Zenana, who leans at her jolly screen, catching her own breath as the poem is read aloud. Perhaps even the emperor himself, who understands that poetry, like empire, is both fragile and eternal. The first stirrings of dawn creep in, not the sun itself, just the pale softening of night's edge. The fountain surface grows lighter, the jasmine's fragrance deepens. The birds eat without hurry, their feathers glowing faintly now, touched by an unseen light. You sit back, your body leaning into the marble coolness, and you realize this night has not been about sleep at all. It has been about watching how silence can be paid with patience and how words take flight only when fed. The poet stirs. He opens his eyes slowly, as though waking from a dream nested within another dream. He sees the bowls filled, the birds gathered, the faint silver of approaching dawn, and he smiles. Not a wide smile, but the kind that understands its place in the vast weaving of hours. He dips his pen once more into ink, though the page remains blank before him. He does not rush. He waits, as if listening for the words. The night itself wishes him to write. You watch, you breathe, and you realize that you too are listening now. Not for the poem, not for the bird, but for the quiet rhythm that keeps all of this alive. The marble floor cools beneath you, yet your breath has begun to warm with dawn. You are neither in night nor in day, but in the hushed, waiting moment that belongs to both. The poet has not spoken. The servants have gone. The bowls of rice remain, half emptied now by the birds who fed. And still the silence deepens. You notice something in the air, a shimmer almost unseen, as though the last veil of night has chosen not to lift, but to hover. The poet dips his pen again, and finally, he writes. The nib scratches faintly, a thread of sound against the stillness. Each letter curves with patience, as though ink itself were reluctant to wake. You lean closer, though you cannot read the words. They seem too fluid, too soft to belong to any tongue you know. Yet you feel them. Each stroke carries a weight, not of meaning, but of presence. Above, the first light slips through the jolly screen. It does not flood, it does not blind. It arrives gently, like a guest who bows at the doorway before entering. The courtyard shivers awake. The fountain catches fire with silver. The birds ruffle their feathers, their wings brushing the air as though tuning themselves for flight. The poet pauses, he lifts his face, and you see it, that look of someone who hears what no one else can. A whisper, not from his own mouth, but from the world itself. You begin to hear it too, not a voice, not words, but a current, a pulse moving beneath all things. The rustle of leaves, the faint hiss of water, the steady beat of your own heart. All of it weaves together, becoming one fabric. This is what he writes, you realize. Not meaning, not message, but the echo of being alive, the bird that had flown away. It returns now. Its wings flash bronze in the dawn. It lands before the poet, its beak still bound by the silken knot. The poet does not hurry. He sets down his pen, unties the thread with slow hands, and retrieves the folded poem. For a moment, he only holds it. He does not open. He does not read. He simply rests his fingers upon the weight of another's words, as though to remind himself that language, when it travels, carries more than ink. Finally, he unfolds it. His lips part, and he begins to read. Not loudly, but in a voice barely stronger than breath. You cannot make out the lines. They blur, curling back into the dawn air. But you do not need to. It is enough to hear the cadence, the way syllables rise and fall, the way silence sits between them. The birds, still feeding, stop. They tilt their heads. They listen. Even the fountain seems to soften, its rhythm slowing to match the poem's measure. You close your eyes. The sound enters you. It settles not in your mind, but in your chest, where your own breath resides. And for a moment, you feel that you too are being read aloud. When you open your eyes again, the poet is looking at you, not startled, not curious, but as though he knew you had been here all along. His gaze does not demand, it offers. Without words, he invites you closer. You rise, your steps slow against the marble. You kneel beside him, and he hands you the poem. The parchment is warm, as though it has remembered every hand that held it before yours. You do not read. You only hold it, feeling its pulse. In that stillness, you realize the truth of this place. The empire was not held by stone, nor by swords, nor by wealth. It was held by words that moved like birds, free, fleeting, yet loyal to those who fed them. And tonight you have been fed too. Not with rice, but with silence shaped into song. The first ray of sunlight now tips across the courtyard. It paints the fountain, the bowls, the poet's face. The night has ended. But the silence has not. You rise slowly, the poem still in your hand, your breath slow, your heart unhurried. The birds lift together. A sweep of wings. A storm of feathered dawn. The poet does not watch them go. He simply closes his eyes again and lets the silence continue writing in the space where words fall away. The sky has begun to stretch, a pale blue veil pulling itself over the last traces of night. You are still in the courtyard. The marble remembers the hush of darkness, but the sunlight now insists, creeping across each stone, laying down a quiet warmth. The bowls of rice are nearly empty. Scattered husks cling to the breeze. The birds are gone, save for one. a small brown body perched upon the lip of the fountain. It dips its beak, sipping water as though it were wine. The ripples spread, soft circles widening until they touch the edges of your breath. The poet has not moved. His eyes are closed, his hand resting upon the inked page. You wonder if he has slipped into sleep, but then you see the slow curl of his lips, as though he smiles at a secret that does not need telling. You feel it too. A quiet swelling, not of knowledge, but of belonging. As if by watching this place, you've been ridden into it. The trolley screen glows brighter now, its carved lattice throwing patterns that tremble across the marble floor. The shadows shift, intricate as calligraphy, changing with every breath of light. It seems no accident. The designs feel deliberate, like the hand of an unseen scribe etching messages you cannot read. You place your palm upon the stone where shadow and sunlight meet. The warmth seeps into your skin, and in that warmth, you feel the presence of countless mornings before this one, the lives that once stood here, the silences that once lingered. Time folds. It does not move forward. It does not move back. It gathers, like fabric pulled into one hand. The poet opens his eyes at last. He lifts his head toward the sky, and softly, he whispers. You cannot hear the words. But the bird at the fountain reacts. Its feathers lift, its wings unfurl. It takes flight, slicing upward through the lattice of light. The poet watches it vanish and only then turns his gaze to you. Again that look. Neither command nor question. Only recognition. He rises. His robes, light as breath, shift with the morning air. The inked page remains on the ground, anchored by a small stone. Without speaking, he gestures for you to follow. You do. The courtyard stretches into a corridor. Pillars standing like sentinels carved from time itself. Your footsteps echo. The sound does not fade quickly. It lingers, folds back into itself, as though even your presence is reluctant to leave this place. You pass murals faint with age, colors dulled yet not gone. Horses gallop across plaster. Faces, stern and tender, peer from beneath layers of dust. But most of all, you notice the birds. They are painted everywhere. On walls, on arches, even hidden in the floral borders that frame forgotten doors. Parrots with emerald feathers, doves with soft gray wings, peacocks' tails fanned like jeweled suns. Each bird looks alive, as if waiting to lift itself out of stone and plaster into the morning sky. At the end of the corridor, a door waits. Wooden, carved, its surface worn smooth by the weight of years. The poet pushes it open. The hinges sigh, a tired, tender sound, and you step into another courtyard, smaller, quieter, a secret nested within the first. Here, no fountain plays, no servants walk. Only a single tree stands, its branches heavy with blossoms the color of pale cream. Their fragrance curls into the air, so gentle it feels like the memory of a scent rather than the scent itself. The poet lowers himself at the base of the tree. He touches the earth, pressing his palm against its coolness. Then he looks to you, inviting you to do the same. You kneel. The ground hums faintly beneath your hand. Roots, unseen, seem to thread not just through soil, but through the silence itself. The blossoms overhead shift. Petals drift down, slow as falling thoughts. One lands upon your shoulder. It lingers there, light as breath. The poet speaks now. His voice is low but clear, and this time you understand. Words, he says, are not given to men alone. He lifts his hand toward the branches. Every bird carries them, every blossom, every grain of rice. They speak in silences too wide for our hearing. You do not answer. You only listen. For the first time, you feel the truth of what he means. The silence here is not empty. It is thick, alive, woven with unspoken language. You are no longer merely a visitor. You are part of the listening. The poet closes his eyes again, and you realize the birds are returning. From every direction they arrive, wings like soft thunder, feathers flashing in morning light. They do not circle above, they come to rest. On the tree, on the walls, even upon the poet's shoulders and arms. The small courtyard fills with breath and feather, with waiting. The silence deepens, and you know, something is about to be spoken. Not by him, not by you, but by the world itself. You hold your breath, you wait, and the silence unfolds. The silence does not break. It stretches, it softens, it becomes the air you breathe. And in that silence, a sound blooms. Not loud, not sudden, but fragile like a thread pulled through cloth. It is the sound of wings. Not the wings themselves, but what they carry. A murmur, a hush, a syllable without shape. You close your eyes, you let it touch you, and slowly you realize the birds are speaking. Not in words you know, not in words at all, but in a rhythm, a rise and fall. A music older than the marble, older than the empire. It folds into you, settles upon your chest, beats in time with your pulse. The poet does not move. His eyes are closed. His hand rests upon the earth, and yet you see it clearly. His lips are parting as though he, too, is repeating what they say. Birds and man, petals and air, all speaking the same language. The tree above shivers, blossoms tremble, a handful fall, spiraling through the swarm of wings. They do not land, the birds catch them, in beaks, in claws, holding them as though they were lines of verse. They rise again, higher and higher, until the blossoms scatter across the morning sky. The courtyard grows brighter. The silence grows deeper. You're not sure if you are inside a story, or if the story is inside you. The poet opens his eyes at last. He looks at you, not with surprise, not with command, but with a kind of recognition that feels endless. He does not need to speak, but he does. Now, he says, and the word settles, not heavy, not sharp, but final, as though a door has been closed. The birds stir. One by one they lift from the tree. Their wings fan the air, leaving it quivering with sound. They do not scatter. They move in a pattern, spiraling upward. A slow, deliberate dance. You tilt your head back, watching as they vanish, carrying their blossoms, carrying their whispers. The courtyard feels emptier without them, but also lighter, as though something has been lifted from it. From you, the poet rises. He brushes earth from his robes. The lines of age on his face seem softened by light. He turns, walking toward the small door you entered through. Again, he does not look back, but you follow because you must. The corridor greets you once more. Shadows stretch along its length. The murals of birds now seem different, no longer still, no longer painted. They seem to breathe, to wait. The peacock's tail glimmers faintly. The dove's eye flickers with light. The parrot's beak seems open, as if on the edge of a call. You wonder, were they always alive, or have you only now learned how to see them? The poet stops. His hand touches the wall. He runs his fingers along a faded outline, the curve of a wing, the shadow of a plume. This, he whispers, is what they left for us. You do not ask who they are. The silence has already told you. The birds, the poets, the blossoms, the countless mornings, each one leaving traces woven into stone. You reach the courtyard again. The fountain murmurs. The marble gleams brighter now, warmed by the full embrace of day. Servants have entered, sweeping husks of rice, polishing brass bowls. They do not look at you, they do not see you. Only the poet does. He walks to the fountain, dips his hand into the water. He lets it drip through his fingers, falling back into the pool. Then he turns to you. Do you hear it now? You do not answer. But the truth is there, settled within your chest. Yes, the sound of the water, the memory of wings, the hush of blossoms falling. It is all the same. It is all one voice. And you realize you will never again hear silence as you once did. The poet smiles, a quiet curve of lips, then lowers his gaze. Without another word, he steps into the shadow of the corridor, his figure thinning, softening, disappearing. You are left alone. The courtyard breathes, the water sings, the marble glows, and in that stillness you know. You will wait here for the birds, for the whispers, for the poetry that needs no ink. The sky above is wide, a canvas brushed with gold. Somewhere beyond its veil, the flock carries its blossoms, its verses, its silences. You close your eyes, you listen, and once again, you hear it, the sound that is not a sound, the silence that speaks, the language that has no end. The courtyard lingers around you like a breath held too long. The fountain still whispers, the marble still glows. But the poet is gone, the flock is gone, and you remain. For a long moment you do not move. The hush feels endless, stretching into you like a second skin. Then, slowly, you turn. The corridor waits, its shadows long, its murals alive with quiet. You step toward it. Your footfalls echo softly, as though the walls themselves are listening. The air inside is cooler. You walk past the peacock, its painted feathers shimmering faintly. Past the dove, its tiny painted eye watching. Past the parrot, its beak parted in eternal call. Each one seems to lean closer, as though waiting for you to ask them something you cannot yet shape into words. You do not stop, you let them pass. Or perhaps they let you pass. The passage bends, the light dims, and suddenly the air changes. You smell something, a faint trace, like smoke, like resin, the breath of incense long extinguished. The walls here are bare, no murals, no color, only stone, smooth and pale, and yet you feel as though countless eyes are upon you. Ahead, a door, not grand, not wide, a simple wooden frame, its surface cracked with age. It is closed, but the silence behind it feels heavier, like a weight upon your chest. You reach out, your fingers brush the wood. It is warm, as though someone has just passed through. You push, the door yields. It does not creak, it does not resist. It simply opens. And there, another courtyard, smaller, darker, half veiled in shadow. No fountain here, no marble gleam, only earth packed and dry. A single tree, its branches stripped bare, and beneath it a scattering of bowls, clay bowls, dozens of them, some whole, some broken, some overturned, each one empty. But as you look closer, you see traces, white dust clinging to the insides, grains of rice, small as whispers. This is where they were brought. This is where the birds fed. A breeze passes. The bowls rattle faintly, like teeth in a dream. The branches above shiver, though no leaves remain. You step forward. Your foot disturbs the dust. It rises, a pale cloud, and for a moment it seems to glow in the dim light. You breathe it in. It tastes like memory, like something left unfinished. You kneel beside one of the bowls. Your fingers trace its rim. It is rough, chipped, fragile. But as you touch it, You feel it hum, faintly, almost nothing, yet unmistakable, a vibration, a residue of sound. You lift the bowl, hold it to your ear, and you hear it, a faint echo, not words, not music, but wings. The empty bowl still remembers. It remembers the weight of the flock, the scatter of grain, the rush of feathers, the burst of sound. It has kept it all this time, waiting for you. You lower the bowl, your hands tremble, but you do not let go because now you know. Even emptiness can carry sound. Even silence can feed. The tree looms above you. Its bare branches reach outward, like veins against the sky. You step closer, the bowl still in your hands. The bark is scarred. Deep cuts run along its trunk, as though carved again and again. You lean in. You see it clearly. Not scars, not wounds. Words. The tree has been carved with lines upon lines of poetry, each one faint, each one worn by time. But they're there, every branch, every curve, covered in verses. You touch the trunk. The words press into your skin. They're not legible, not now. But the tree knows them. The tree has kept them, fed by rice, by wings, by silence. And as you stand there, a sound grows. Not outside, inside. The bowl in your hands begins to hum again. The branches tremble. And, for the briefest breath, you hear it. A chorus. The voices of birds, the sigh of blossoms, the laughter of poets long gone. All of it woven together, speaking through the hollow air. It passes. The tree grows still. The bowl falls silent. But you are changed. Because you've heard it. Because you cannot unhear it. The light deepens. Shadows stretch. The bowls around you glimmer faintly, as though each one still carries something unseen. The courtyard breathes. The silence thickens. And you know, you must leave. You must carry this with you. Because the silence is not yours alone anymore. It belongs to them. And you belong to it. You turn back. The door waits, half open, a frame of darkness. You cross the threshold. The corridor swallows you once more. The murals blink faintly. The air is cool. You do not look back. You do not need to. Because the tree, the bowls, the silence have already followed you. They are inside you now. The corridor narrows. Stone presses closer. The hush thickens. You walk slowly, each step carrying the echo of the bowls you left behind. Their emptiness still hums in your palms, even though your hands are bare. The air here is different, cooler, heavier. A faint scent trails along the walls. Not incense, not smoke. Something softer, like wet earth, like rain that has not yet fallen. You pause, breathe. It settles in you. A promise half spoken. Then, ahead, a light. Not bright, not golden, but silver, like the shimmer of moonlight caught in water. You follow it. The corridor bends. Yet the silence breaks. And you enter another space. A chamber, circular, roof high above, curved like the inside of a shell. The walls are tiled, each one set with shards of mirror, small, uneven, scattering the dim light into 1,000 restless fragments. It feels as though you are standing inside a star. Every movement you make multiplies. Every breath ripples outward. In the center, a low platform. Upon it, a single cushion, worn, indented by weight, long vanished. And beside it, a shallow tray. Rice scattered there. Not much, just a thin layer. Grains pale as bone, still waiting, as though the birds could arrive at any moment. You step closer. The mirrors catch you. Your reflection fractures. You see your face in 100 different angles, your eyes multiplied, your hands repeated, each one reaching. The chamber becomes crowded, but all of them are you. You kneel beside the tray. The rice gleams faintly. You lower your hand. Touch the grains. They are cold. The moment you touch them, a sound stirs. Wings. Software far away, as though inside the mirrors. You look up. The shards shimmer. Something flickers across them. Not your face, not your hand. Feathers. At first, only one. A small bird darting across a fragment. Its body quick, its eye bright. Then another. Then another. Soon, the walls are alive with them. Every shard holds one. Doves, parrots, sparrows, peacocks, each one caught mid-flight, as though the mirrors were windows to a place, still pulsing with wings. You rise slowly, turn in a circle. Everywhere you look, birds. They do not move as you do. They move on their own, fluttering, restless, feeding in silence. You watch and the chamber hums, the mirrors flicker. And then, a voice, software, so soft you almost miss it. It does not come from one mirror. It comes from all of them. A chorus whispers, words strung together, in languages you half recognize, half forget. Poems broken into feathers, rebuilt in light. You close your eyes. The voices grow clearer. They do not call you. They do not need to. They are speaking to each other. One recites, another answers. The rhythm builds, like wings beating in time. It is not for you. It never was. You are only listening, and yet you feel it settling in your chest, like a second heartbeat, like a secret being shared anyway. You open your eyes. The tray of rice glimmers, the mirrors quiver, the voices fade, and for a long breath there is nothing, only you and your reflections, and the silence left behind. You lower yourself onto the cushion. It gives beneath your weight, sighing softly, as though relieved. You sit there. You let the hush seep into you. The rice waits at your feet. The mirrors blink around you. And for the first time, you do not wonder what comes next, because you feel it. This chamber is not asking. It is offering, not a secret, not a story, but rest. So you close your eyes, not to sleep, not yet, but to let the silence carry you. The voices linger at the edge, still murmuring, still weaving, but softer now, distant, like a dream you will not remember when you wake. The rice does not stir. The mirrors do not break. The air does not move. And still, the chamber breathes. It breathes with you. The chamber releases you slowly. You rise from the cushion, your knees stiff, your palms marked with faint rice dust. When you turn, the mirrors have dimmed. No more wings, no more voices, only your own reflection, quiet, watching. You bow slightly, to the cushion, to the tray, to the unseen ones who filled the silence with feathers. Then you step back into the corridor. It feels longer now, the air heavier, but not unkind. You walk carefully, as though carrying something fragile, though your hands are empty. The walls lean close, their stones blotched with damp, their silence steady, as though they are listening. At last, another archway. You pause at its edge. Beyond, a faint shimmer glows. Not silver this time, not moonlight, but green. A soft, pulsing green, like light bending through leaves, like morning held underwater. For a minute, you step through. The corridor opens. A garden waits, not outside, but inside stone. Roof high above, walls rising. Yet trees grow here, tall and bending, their roots tangled into flagstones, their branches weaving a canopy that filters the dim light into gentle emerald shade. The air is cool, damp with moss, alive with a hush that is not silence but the sound of growing things. You breathe, it tastes of rain, of roots, of something older than the palace itself. You walk forward. The garden does not greet you. It simply accepts you, as though you are another tree, another shadow, Another leaf passing through. At the garden center, a pool, shallow, still, its surface clouded with fallen petals, red, white, pale yellow, gathering like forgotten prayers. The water reflects the canopy above, but when you look closer, it seems deeper than it should be. Not water only, something else. You kneel at its edge, touch the surface. It ripples softly, and within the ripple, a face, not your own, someone else. Eyes closed, breath steady, a figure seated far below the water, as though waiting at the bottom of a dream. You lean closer, the petals shift, the image quivers, and then it fades. Only water again. You draw back. But the garden has changed. The leaves tremble, though there is no wind. The roots shift against stone as though stretching. And in the canopy above, a sound. Not birds, not voices, but a hum. It starts low like bees, but it is not bees. It is fuller, deeper, a resonance that swells and folds, as though the garden itself is remembering a song. You close your eyes. The hum fills you. Your ribs vibrate with it, your teeth, your bones. It is not music. It is not prayer. It is both, and neither. It simply is. When you open your eyes again, the pool has cleared, the petals gone, the reflection steady. But now, not your face, not a figure beneath, only sky, a soft, pale sky that should not be here beneath a roof of stone. You watch it watches you, and for a moment you forget where you are. The corridor, the mirrors, the rice, all dissolve. Only this pool remains, this impossible sky, this quiet hum threading through your chest. Then, as gently as it came, the hum fades, the sky ripples, the petals return. The pool is only water again. You rise slowly, your hands damp, your breath unsteady. The garden stands still, roots quiet, branches heavy with green. You know it is time to leave. At the far side, another opening. Stone steps, worn, descending into shadow. You take one last breath of the garden air, let it linger in your lungs, and then step away. The green dims, the silence closes, and once again you are walking down. The steps are narrow, the air colder. A faint trickle echoes, water seeping through rock. Your hand brushes the wall. It is slick with moss. The descent seems endless. Each step slower, heavier, as though the palace is drawing you deeper into its chest. At last, a landing, you stop. The air here does not move. Not even a whisper. Ahead, a door, wood darkened with age, its surface carved with faint lines, spirals and knots that tangle without pattern. There's no handle, only silence. You reach forward, touch the wood. It is warm, and the moment your palm rests against it, the lines shift. They coil, curl, move like vines. You draw in your breath, the door trembles, and then, without sound, it opens. Beyond it, darkness, not empty, not hollow, but full, the kind of darkness that waits, that holds, that has always been there. You stand at the threshold. You do not yet enter because you feel it. Whatever lies inside has been waiting. Not for anyone, not for many, but only for you. The doorway waits, its darkness patient, as though it has been breathing quietly for centuries. You place one foot forward. The air shifts, denser, cooler, almost liquid against your skin. You step inside. The door closes behind you. Not with a slam, not with a creak, but with a sigh, as though wood and stone both have been holding in a breath and only now are letting it go. You are swallowed. At first there is nothing. No shape, no edge, no floor beneath your feet. But you do not fall, you simply float, suspended in a velvet stillness that touches every part of you at once. It feels like standing in midnight water with no ripple, no current, no shore. Slowly, almost reluctantly, light begins to form, not from above, not from flame, but from within the dark itself, as though shadows are remembering how to glow. Soft threads of silver unwind, stretching outward, tracing the outline of a chamber vast and silent. The floor settles beneath you again, smooth, cold, stone worn by time. You look around. Pillars rise, thin and tall, their tops vanishing into the unseen height. They're carved with patterns, not floral, not geometric, but something between, like vines that learn to dream in symmetry. They glimmer faintly as though the carvings are veins of light. At the center of the chamber, a platform, low, circular, its surface bare except for one object, a bowl, stone carved, shallow, its rim chipped, its hollow filled with something dark. You approach slowly. Each step echoes softly, the sound circling back to you like an old memory. When you reach the platform, you see more clearly. The bowl holds water, but the water does not reflect. Instead, it absorbs. Your face leans over it, but no face returns. Only darkness, dense and unbroken, as though the bowl is not a vessel, but an opening. You lower your hand. Let your fingers touch its surface. The water does not ripple. It does not wet your skin. It only pulls. A soft tug, as though urging you closer, as though inviting you to give. For a moment you hesitate. Then, with slow breath, you place your whole palm flat against it. Instantly, a vision rises. Not in the bowl, not in the air, but in you, a garden, vast, silent, every tree heavy with blossoms that do not move, as though caught in the moment between blooming and falling. The air glows pale gold. The sky is endless. And in the center, a bird, small, fragile, perched on a stone. Its beak opens, but no sound comes, only silence, layer upon layer of silence, until you realize that silence is the sound. That silence is the song. Your breath catches. The vision blurs. The bowl releases your hand. You stumble back. The chamber remains still, unchanged. But the silence now is heavier. Not empty, but full. You kneel. Close your eyes. The silence presses against your chest, your ribs, your throat. You let it. You let it in. And in that quiet, you understand. The birds that once carried poems, the rice they were paid in, the chambers they filled with echoes. All of it was not for the poems, not for the voices, not even for the empire. It was for the silence that followed. That was the true gift, the true weight, the true payment. You remain kneeling, breath slow, hands resting open on your knees. The chamber does not move, the bowl does not stir, but the silence within you grows steadier, more vast, as though you are becoming another vessel, another bowl carved to hold it. When you finally rise, you feel lighter, not emptier, but lighter. The pillars glow faintly, then dim. The threads of silver that lit the chamber begin to fade. The darkness closes in again, but it is no longer a void. It is a cloak, a soft shawl drawn over your shoulders. You turn. The door is there again. You do not hear it open, but it waits, quiet, patient, warm. You step toward it, lay your hand upon its wood, and this time it does not sigh. It does not tremble. It simply swings wide, without sound, and the corridor beyond waits. You step through. The door closes behind you, and you carry its silence with you, as though it has settled into your very bones. The corridor is darker now, but you no longer mind. Your steps are steady, your breath calm, and though no bird sings, though no whisper follows, you feel accompanied by the silence itself. The corridor stretches, narrow, shadowed, endless. Your footsteps fall softly, yet the sound does not echo. Silence follows you still, not behind, not ahead, but inside, as though each breath you draw is a thread weaving through a fabric of stillness. The walls here are closer, smooth stone, cool to the touch, lined with faint carvings that you cannot fully see. But when your fingertips glide across them, you feel them. A rhythm, shapes that loop and curl like words pressed into stone by hands that believed silence could hold memory better than sound. The carvings hum faintly under your touch, not with noise, but with sensation, of vibration without voice. You pause, close your eyes, let your palm rest fully against the wall, and once again, a vision rises, this time not of gardens, not of birds, not of bowls of water, but of a hall, long, bright, lined with cushions of velvet. Men sit there in quiet rows, each with a feather in hand. Not quills, not for ink, but feathers of birds that once carried verses. They do not write with them, they listen, each feather held to the ear as though it contains a song that only silence can release. And their faces, calm, unmoved, yet lit faintly, as though each has found a secret he will never speak aloud. The vision fades. You open your eyes. The corridor waits, unchanged. Yet you walk on with the weight of feathers in your mind. After a time, there is no measure of how long. The corridor widens. The air shifts. A faint fragrance drifts in, unfamiliar yet tender. It is not rose, not musk, not sandalwood. It is the scent of rice, cooked, steamed, but cooled by time. The fragrance of payment left on trays, untouched, waiting for wings that never came. The corridor spills into a chamber, round, dim in soils, its walls lined with alcoves, and in each alcove a small pile of rice, not fresh, not fragrant, but dry, aged, grains dulled by centuries. Yet no dust touches them. They remain intact as though silence itself preserved them. You step closer to one alcove, kneel, run your fingers through the grains. They do not crumble, they do not shift. They rest against your skin, light, weightless, like memories that forgot they were meant to fade. You close your hand, take a handful, and in your palm, the grains glow faintly, not with light, but with story. You hear it, not with your ears, but with the stillness inside you. The sound of wings, the beat of air, a tiny beak tapping against a window, a hand reaching out to scatter rice, and laughter. Software young, joyful, the rice remembers. You place the grains back carefully, as though they are more fragile than jewels. The glow fades, the silence deepens. You rise and turn. In the center of this round chamber stands a pedestal, tall, thin, shaped from the same stone as the floor. Upon it rests a scroll, rolled tight, bound with a strip of faded red cloth. You approach slowly. Your fingers hover, not yet touching. The silence around it feels heavier, thicker, as though this scroll is not meant to be opened by hands, but by breath. You lean closer. Exhale softly. The cloth trembles. The scroll loosens, unfurls with a slow whisper, like fabric unfolding in the dark. But no words are written, only blank parchment, empty. At first you think, forgotten, unfinished, but then you realize it was never meant to be written upon. It was meant to listen, to hold silence as though silence itself were ink. You reach out, lay your palm flat against it. The parchment is cool, thin, fragile yet firm enough to bear centuries. And through it, a tide flows into you, the sound of all silences that came before. Courtyards emptied after music, chambers hushed after recitations, gardens stilled after dawn prayers. Every pause, every hush, every held breath, gathered, pressed, woven into this scroll. You cannot hold it long. You pull your hand back, breath unsteady. The scroll curls shut again, silence binding it like a thread. You step away. The chamber dims. The alcoves blur. The pedestal fades. You're standing once more in the corridor. It stretches ahead, dark and endless. But now you do not walk it alone. You walk with feathers, with rice, with scrolls that write nothing, with silence that listens. Each step steadier, each breath deeper. The corridor narrows, the air grows cooler, and far ahead, a faint glow, not gold, not silver, but the color of dawn before the sun rises. You walk toward it. The glow ahead waits, soft, pale, unhurried. You move toward it, not rushing, not slowing, simply letting your steps carry you closer. The corridor narrows, yet the air grows lighter. The stone beneath your feet no longer presses cold, but feels almost warm, like earth touched by dawn. You reach the end. A threshold. Beyond it, a chamber open to the sky. Not vast, not grand, but simple, round, with low walls, its floor strewn with pale cushions faded by years of moonlight. Above, the sky, wide, endless, painted not with stars, but with a soft gray blue that comes just before the sun has thought of rising. The silence here is unlike the silence of the corridor. It is not heavy, not pressing. It is weightless, spacious, like the pause between heartbeats when everything waits, not for sound, but for stillness itself to deepen. You step inside, sit upon a cushion. The fabric sinks slightly, cradling you, holding you as though it has been waiting only for this. Before you lies a shallow bowl, simple clay, its surface chipped. Inside, clear water. You lean closer. It does not reflect your face. Instead, it reflects feathers, rice, scrolls, carvings, courtyards, gardens. All the visions you carried here float within the water, layered like dreams. You reach out. Your fingertip touches the surface. No ripple spreads, no sound stirs, but the visions dissolve softly like ink vanishing into paper. And in their place, only sky, only silence. You close your eyes. Let your breath fall into rhythm. Slow, deeper, slower still. The silence around you becomes the silence within you. The corridor vanishes. The walls vanish. Even the bowl of water fades. There's no chamber, no threshold, no feathers, no rice, only silence. And within that silence, the faintest pulse, not a drum, not a voice, not a wing, but your heartbeat, steady, quiet, almost indistinguishable from the hush surrounding it. For a moment, you cannot tell whether the sound comes from within you or from the silence itself. And then you no longer wonder. You no longer need to. You are drifting, not walking, not waiting, drifting through air that does not move, through light that does not shine, through stillness that does not break. Each breath lighter, each thought slower, each moment longer, until breath, thought, and moment all become the same thing. One hush, one stillness, one silence. You feel your body sink. The cushion beneath you holds you closer. The ground beneath that cushion feels softer, warmer, as though it remembers how to cradle more gently than earth usually does. Your limbs grow heavy, not with weight, but with rest, the kind of rest that no sleep of nights past has yet given you. The glow above brightens faintly. Not day, not yet, just the promise of it. The horizon sigh, the first whisper before the birds begin. But you will not be here to hear them. You will already be gone, drawn into a silence so deep, so endless that even dawn cannot disturb it. The chamber drifts away. The sky dissolves. The cushion fades. You are lying in your own place now, your own quiet, your own room, dark, still, filled with silence. But it is no different. The hush is the same. The stillness is the same. The drift is the same. Your breath deepens, slows, settles. Your body loosens. Your mind loosens. You float. You fade. You sleep. Silence holds you.